This is Johnny with TigerBomb MMA, and tonight I'm going to go over UFC Saudi Arabia, Whittaker versus Aliskerov, giving you my thoughts and predictions on the entire 12-bout card. Ooh, what a cursed card this is. A couple fights have been canceled. One just recently today was canceled, which would have been the, what the hell's his name? Dumas fight, and we've got some very late notice replacements for a different fight. And then, yeah, we've got Chimaev. Obviously, he got sick. He got food poisoning, apparently, is what I'm hearing. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed because the internet's a bitch. And now he had to pull out against Whittaker. Now he's got Whittaker, that is a opponent very similar to Chimaev. Chimaev actually beat Aliskerov back in the day. So I think Whittaker has a one-up on this fight, but will it be that easy for him? Because I think Aliskerov presents different challenges for him. But yeah, overall, it's a tough card to predict just because there's a lot of things that come into play because the fact that I'm going to have to say it, all the Muslim fighters are going to have 10-9s already written out for them. So with this entire bout, I'll give you my thoughts and predictions on them pretty briefly. But before I do that, I want to give you my thoughts on the previous card, the Perez versus Tyra. Did pretty shit poor prediction-wise, but nothing that I'm like upset about because prediction-wise doesn't necessarily mean money-wise. So I picked a couple underdogs and went against my bets based off of the value. And overall, not too bad. I made, I think, like 4 units. I actually made more than that, but then I lost most of it of my profits on idiotic. I'll tell you about it in a bit. But yeah, first fight of the night, we've got Knudsen versus Palastri. Palastri won that 29-28. Correct scorecard, I thought. Palastri didn't do enough early in the first round to warrant that round going to her. And then she kind of showed that Knudsen doesn't really have much off of her back quite yet. I think she will. She's training at All-Stars. She'll get there. But I had Knudsen and Tyra for a parlay. I actually had Knudsen, Tyra, and Tiuliulin on one, but Tajir fell off. Pissed me off, but yeah, ended up cashing that one. Mel Costa, I picked him to win, did not bet him just because, like, you never know if he's giving up these easy takedowns. He was like minus 200 at a certain point before the fight started. I actually took him live after round number 2 when he was an underdog. The perception was that Lutterbach round number 2 that he won it. I didn't think so. I thought it was 1-1. Odds indicated bet this motherfucker. I cashed out on Costa moments later when he got the submission. I think the positive is that Costa, despite the fact that he gave up easy takedowns, like I said, if Lutterbach does, he's going to end up winning this fight. The issue is that Costa, despite giving up those easy takedowns, did not make that fight easy for Lutterbach, meaning that he gassed him out, trying to hold him down. And I think that was a positive thing for Costa, the fact that he was, on paper at least, losing 2 rounds, and then he comes back in the third, chokes out Lutterbach, which was awesome. Weston Wilson defeats Cheka Sadeghi. I picked Sadeghi, but I bet Wilson because, of course, I'm going to bet Wilson. I bet him every single time out, even if it's very likely he's going to get knocked out. But Cheka, to me, was his least, polished opponent, but he still had the power to knock him out. Weston immediately took him down, choked him out with the triangle armbar. So I had him money line at like +2 something, and then like sub was +4 something. Easily up 2 units already with Costa and Wilson, but again, I went like 4 out of 11 of my predictions, so it was what it was. Next bout, I bet Giudice to win this fight, and she did lose this fight. I'm not gonna make a like BS argument about like, oh, she should have won the first round and the third because of stupid reasons. Gabriella hit her hard and often enough in the first round for her to warrant her winning that first. Was it a proper split? I think it was a 100% a split decision. It could have gone either way based on how you judge round number 1. To me, even though it goes against the fighter that I picked, in Carly Giudice, I would have given round number 1 to Fernandez. I thought she did just a little bit more when it came to the power volume. But Giudice showed that she belongs. Gabriella, ooh boy, this girl, if she's losing or nearly losing the girls who are 3-1 in the UFC, it kind of shows you why I picked against her. Like, I could have gotten lucky here, and I could have gotten the favorable decision for Giudice, and I would have won some more money, but I would have probably still said that I thought Gabriella won. The issue is that, man, she was minus 260, and at a certain point it was a pick'em, and that's what I felt like. This girl does not deserve to be minus 260, even against Carly Giudice, who I think she's going to have a very bright future in the UFC. Nate Maness did fuck all against Jimmy Flick. Adam Fugit it did enough to beat Josh. I had Josh in a parlay, so that parlay was for a unit and a half. That went to shit with some other guy that I'll talk shit about, Josh Quinlan. I thought he won the fight. I thought he won round number 1 and round number 2, but he did fuck all in the later rounds. He barely did anything. I think he 100% deserved to lose based off of his performance. Adam at least tried, even though he was not effective. So I'm not mad at him winning that fight. It's just that I do think scoring-wise, Josh won, but pride-wise and as a gambler and as a human being, fuck Josh Quinlan for not trying hard enough. Like, what was that? That was really bad. There's another guy who did something similar and actually won, and it pissed me off. But yeah, Fugit won, was what it was. Next bout, Almabayev defeats Johnson. I did take Johnson like a quarter unit on him because why the fuck not? He's a +4 something. Maybe, I don't remember if he was like +6 something. I might have parlayed him with someone else. And I think Tyra. I parlayed him with Tyra just to juice up the odds. Just because I thought, if he doesn't get finished, he has a good chance here. He's a longer guy. He can good combinations on him. If Almabayev goes in on a single legging, he can elbow the shit out of him. Almabayev impressed me here the way he really dominated Johnson on the mat for the majority of the fight. Johnson did get him in a triangle choke, which to me, my half unit at +4 something, that was good enough for me. I'm like, fuck, he could have tapped him. But Almabayev showed that he's just built differently. Like, the guy, even though he was tiny, it was very impressive the way he was like dominating Johnson. And, it's simple to say, yeah, Johnson fucking sucks. You look at his record, he's 16-9. He gives up takedowns. That was expected, but he has leveled up enough for me to feel confident in betting and losing a fucking bet on him. So it is what it is. I really am hoping that the perception of Johnson fucking sucks still. So that way he's still like +200 going forward, knowing the fact that he's been making these massive improvements where he didn't get finished by Almabayev. I think a lot of other people would have. Brady Heastan defeats Garrett Armfield. I picked Armfield based off of the fact that Armfield, he is a very good fighter up until he gets tired. And I initially said bet Brady live, and that's exactly what I did. The moment Garrett dropped him, and I'm like, let's see if he survives. As long as he survives, I'm going all in on him. I took Brady. I cashed out Brady moments after the third round started because Garrett slows down. He fought valiantly. This could have been fight of the night. Brady actually got a performance bonus, and granted, he deserved it. Great fight, man. I really would love if these two guys went toe-to-toe with each other like every week. This could have been fight of the night, but the ladies edged it out for whatever reason. Yeah, Garrett's awesome. I love me some Garrett. I think he's going to take this on the chin, get better. But he really displayed how good he is. Even on the ground, he went for that armbar, and it was pretty tight. But Brady, he wasn't going to tap to that shit. He's training with Chiesa all the time. Brady's a big boy. He's got great cardio. He's even got some pretty good striking. It's just his striking defense has always failed him. But his toughness drags him out of there. So Brady, really high future for the guy. Same thing for Garrett Armfield. This is not a lose situation for Garrett. Like, he fought very, very well in a very good fight that he could have won. He just got caught by a very good opponent with a little bit more cardio than him. Lucas Almeida defeats Timmy Kwamba. I thought Timmy was going to run through Lucas because I thought he was going to be too fast for him, knock him out with the first 1-2. Lucas ate that 1-2 like nothing, and that's when I knew, oh shit, Timmy's got pillow fists. We're in for a really rough night. Timmy got dropped. He went for the single leg. Couldn't do anything to Lucas Almeida. Good props to Almeida. This was my other leg on the parlay, which was already crashed at this point. So Timmy really sucked. I really don't like Timmy as a fighter, but I try to look past that, and I'm like, yo, what is Timmy good at? He can wrestle. He can get on top. He can win minutes. He's a solid fighter, but we didn't really know he didn't have that dog in him because he got dropped and he froze out there. Up until the third is when he started throwing back with conviction, but that was a little too late. I think had he done that earlier, he definitely could have beaten Almeida, because Almeida, despite the fact that he looked impressive as a bully out there, he was bullying Timmy. But Timmy just was too afraid. He got dropped too many times. He was getting hurt, and he just didn't have that mentality of like, well, I got to do something different. It was what it was. Yeah. I know some people in my Discord were like, fuck Timmy this, fuck Timmy that, talking shit about Timmy. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I get for betting on Timmy. Next bout, oh my God, Miles John does dick all and wins at 30-27 against Silva de Andrade. That really pissed me off. So I was doing well. I had lost some money. I gained the money back. I put all my extra income on live betting on Douglas the Andrade. And I really thought I had a good chance to win that. Maybe not the greatest feeling. Maybe I could sneak out a decision here, like a split decision, because the Andrade, first round, I thought he did a little bit more. Third round, I thought he won. Nope, 30-27's Miles Johns just for standing there and doing nothing. I was like, man, fuck Miles Johns. Not that it's his fault that he was given the scores, but the fact that he just fought that way. The Andrade, not much better than him. He didn't fight aggressively. He fought scared, and on top of that, like he wouldn't even get hit clean. Johns would throw an overhand right. It would like hit the back of his head, and he would just like stumble and act like he was super hurt, and then he would recover. I'm like, that's not good for the judges, so it is what it is. Tatsuro Taira defeats Alex Perez. Perez cashed me out, or I'm sorry, not Perez, but Taira cashed me out. I had 2 units on him to win 1. I had him on that 2-unit parlay with Knudsen to win back 2 units. Overall, good night. I made total of 4 units. It was fine. Taira looked good. Not all great, but he passed the Perez challenge, destroyed his knee. Perez should have just tapped out immediately. Like, he should have just let him take his back on the ground. It just sucks, man. I hate when they get injured like that. The worst thing is that they called it a TKO after he tapped. I was like, that's weird. Usually when people tap, it's considered a submission. So those people who had Taira by knockout were like, yay, we knew it all along. I'm like, no, he was on his way to get submitted. His knee just exploded. So it is what it is. Overall, good night, but learning lesson for me, maybe don't bet stuff that you don't need to, like the Quinlan and Timmy. I didn't need to bet that, but I was like over analyzing. I'm like, what if the Taira fight doesn't go my way and I got to make some money elsewhere? I'm like, nah, just leave it alone. So that's some shit I got to learn when it comes to like the addiction side of it. But back to the Saudi Arabia card here. I'm going to give you my quick thoughts on this, which would be obviously Aliskerov versus Whittaker. Rough night because we got the first fight of the night. Long Xiao versus Chang Ho Lee. It's basically a pick'em here. Chang Ho Lee plus 100, Long Xiao minus 120. Lots of experience on Long Xiao's side. He's 26-8, 26 years old. Don't really like his style. I don't even know what his style is. He's kind of a weird. Like, I taped the guy. I taped him quite a bit, and I still don't know what his style is. All I know is that he can stuff takedowns at a certain point, but I don't know what to think of him. Like, I thought he lost the no-say fight in the road to the UFC. He was supposed to fight another guy on this card that got called up recently in Lima, in Felipe Lima. But to me, it's like he would have gotten exposed then, so he shouldn't even be in this spot against Chang Ho Lee. Chang Ho Lee, I was more impressed by his style. He's kind of like a Korean Khabib, as he puts it. Takes people down, tries to maul them on the ground. I like that style. What makes it so interesting is that if Xiao Long can stuff the takedowns, which he's been pretty decent at, will he just be able to put points up and style on Chang Ho Lee on the feet? I think Chang Ho Lee's got some decent striking, but he doesn't really implement it all that well. Like he could win on a striking front, but he'd rather reach for that takedown and try to dominate you. And I like his fight with, I can't pronounce his name, but Dmitry Zawapusi. Yeah, basically this dude was doing the same exact thing that Chang Ho Lee likes to do to the guys, just dominate him on the mat, go for takedowns, submissions, ground and pound. Chang Ho Lee eventually got him tired, so he was able to survive all that, gets on top of him and TKOs him. It's an interesting bout. Betting-wise, there's no real value here because it could be a sloppy split decision. I don't think Zhang Lao or whatever, Long Xiao, really deserves to be in this spot. He's not impressive. I don't think he's going to win UFC fights. As for Chang Ho Lee, I think he can, based off of his style. I'm going to go with him to win by a decision. But super close fight between two guys that I am not interested in. Next bout, Sudikris Dumas. This got canceled. I was going to go with Dumas knockout in the second round. Very short notice bout. There's a lot of things going against Dumas, one being that it was short notice, the second one being that he cannot smoke weed in Saudi Arabia or they would cut his hands off. Very hard to fight with no hands. Tiuliulin, plus 150 on him would have been nice because if Dumas isn't quite ready, Tiuliulin is very good at beating up guys who are not quite UFC caliber. But Dumas, he's got the athleticism behind him. I think he's got the reach behind him. And I was going to pick him to win. I was going to actually bet him to win as well. At the plus 180, I was going to parlay him with someone else. But yeah, that would have been my pick. Dumas, second round knockout. Next bout, we've got Magomedov versus Brendan Ribeiro. Hate this fight because minus 470, it ain't hard to pick this guy to win, which I'm going to go by first round knockout. Against Brendan Ribeiro, who is plus 360. All the upside is on Ribeiro, betting wise. I would advise, like Moicano says, I am not a financial advisor, but I would advise you still not to parlay the shit out of Gaziazulev because he gives me the nastiest fraud vibes. Because I see him fight guys that he should destroy, like this Jose Medina. He gave Jose Medina a chance to be in the UFC. He's fighting recently. I think he's going to be fighting Zachary Reese. He gave him the opportunity to get in the UFC because he couldn't finish him, because he gassed himself out. And then Jose Medina was just kind of talking shit to him, and then he eventually landed a good punch on Gadziev or whatever the fuck his name is, which impressed Dana White. Like, he should have not even been in the contention of being in the UFC, but Gadziev here, Gaziazulev, Magomedov, MG over here, could not finish him. And I think that's a recurring thing for the guy. Like, he has good striking, really good kicks, fucking does a Showtime kick, but I've seen him kind of slow down, gas out, and just not have that option to finish a fight. And if he cannot finish Ribeiro's got pretty good striking, very, very hard hitter, super long arms. If Magomedov slows down or his confidence gets shocked, Ribeiro's going to knock him the fuck out. So I do think that MG over here, he has all the skills to finish Ribeiro pretty brutally, where he doesn't look like a fraud, where the 470 looks appropriate, meaning that Ribeiro's been knocked out cold multiple times. If he gets taken down, he's kind of susceptible to ground and pound. But, man, I don't know if Magomedov, despite the fact that he has the skill set of Sambo background, very good kicking and striking, I just don't trust him to do so. So I will pick him by first-round knockout, but I will be looking at Ribeiro. I might even bet Ribeiro by finish, just because he, despite getting knocked the fuck out his last fight, he fought a guy that was willing to fight, willing to be in the pocket. And I think Magomedov is kind of like, when he's styling on you, he's styling on you, and he's going to look impressive. But when he's not, and you're bum rushing him, and you make him uncomfortable, he's going to look nowhere near the fighter that is minus 470, where he might get a decision win, and we might even be talking about how much of a fraud he is. But with his skill set, he 100% has a chance here to look every bit of minus 1,000. If he fights correctly, he has that chance. I don't trust it, though, at these odds, so I'm going to pick him to win, but I don't foresee him really looking that way. Next bout, we've got Muin Gafurov. Muin Gafurov versus Kang Ho Kang. I'm going to go with Kang here by a decision. Main reason is the odds have it minus 125 for Gafurov, plus 105 for Kang. Number one, I'm a big Kang fan, Mr. Perfect fan. I've always been. I like that he's developed his striking. The main issue with Gafurov is I know he can win this fight. I do know 100% he can. He just has to wrestle his ass off, and even if he's not necessarily getting the better of the grappling exchanges, they're going to give it to him anyways because it's Saudi Arabia. Anyone that has a possibly Muslim-sounding name, they're going to give it to him. It just is the matter of fact that it is. But the guy, to me, is just so sloppy sometimes that outside the UFC, he looks like a dominator. He can convince you that he is UFC caliber based off of the competition that he's beating. But if you cannot beat, on the Contender Series, Chad Anheliger, who stuffed your takedowns and just kind of did enough to outstrike you on the feet, it's really hard for me to believe that you're going to do that to anybody in the UFC. And they matched him up with Said Nurmagomedov. For the love of God, he was just a boy. He didn't deserve that. Like, he got choked out really bad. And it's not a shame getting choked out by Said with his best choke, which is the ninja choke. It's just how he reacted to it and how he put himself into it. And that's what he does. He puts himself head first into people's fucking guts, right into their arms. And a guy like Kang Ho Kang may or may not be able to capitalize on it, but on the feet, I know he's going to be able to pick him apart there. And if he stuffs the takedowns of Gafurov, I think he's just going to be able to edge him because he has the jiu-jitsu experience, the grappling experience. He can get back up from Gafurov. I don't think Gafurov's going to be able to completely dominate him, but I do expect him to get some takedowns here or there where maybe that would be enough to give him the decision. Too sloppy for me, dog or pass. I'm going with Kang Ho Kang. Never been impressed by Muin Gafurov. I faded him every single time in the UFC, and it's not let me down. Moving on, we've got Rinat Fakretdinov versus Nicholas Dalby. Fakretdinov minus 190. Come back on Dalby plus 235. Dalby is the parlay killer, baby. The guy, as much as I dislike him, and here's another thing, he's fighting in Pride Month. It's really hard to beat Nicholas Dalby in his month because Nicholas Dalby just gets extra powers, whether, I don't want to go in that route, like up his butt. Anyways, Nicholas Dalby, he has really killed a lot of prospects. He's killed a lot of parlays. You fade this guy, it's going to be a really bad night for you. But when I look at his competition and the way he's fought, Claudio Silva and Gabriel Bonfim, two guys on different ends of the spectrum when it comes to the age, one younger, one much older, both able to hold down Dalby. One of them, well, they both gassed out, and Dalby capitalized on, say, the exhaustion from Claudio Silva for him to edge out this win, and then the inexperience and exhaustion from Bonfim where he actually finished them. Then you look at the other fights. Warlley Alves clearly beat Alves, as much as I hate to admit it, but Alves is not the smartest guy. Muslim Salikov, similar thing. He's a much older guy, so he's been beating very young, unproven, untested competition when it comes to like Bonfim. As much as I love Bonfim, and he's going to come back with a fury after this fight, he still had never been in that situation where he could dominate someone on the mat and them not give up. And props to Dalby. He's developed himself into a very solid fighter, even at near 40 years old. But everyone else has been kind of, when you look at it, like, yeah, of course Dalby was going to win because he's got that cardio advantage. As for Fakretdinov, I think he's going to dominate here. I think he's going to win this fight either by decision or a knockout along the way. His last fight, you can see that as a huge red flag, and I think a lot of people will. The issue is he fought a guy he respected way too much. He was playing around with Zaleski to the point that Zaleski was just popping him to the body. And I think Dalby, he's good at that. He's a good kicker from the outside. He might try that game plan, but I think Rinat's going to be able to dominate him on the mat, possibly finish him on the feet. He's got a lot of upside here. He will be going on my parlay, but I will be picking him by decision. I think this is no longer these young guys who gas out or who are too old or guys that you can just dominate with your boring-ass style. Dalby likes to clinch people up. Rinat is going to welcome that. He's not going to really want to strike with you. He will. He's not like incapable of striking, but like he wants to take to the ground and dominate you there. And I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to dominate. He's going to either win a 30-27 decision, or he's going to prove that he's a massive fraud and Dalby's going to beat his ass. That's really the one of the two ways. But I do favor the decision side on Fakretdinov. I think Dalby's proven to be very durable. I think he's kind of hard to submit as well. If Rinat can land that powerful right hand and hurt Dalby, because Dalby's been hurt before, I think he can put him out with like a series in a barrage of strikes, possibly even choke him. It's just, again, the easiest path to resistance here is Dalby getting taken down repeatedly by Fakretdinov, and I expect that from him. Just putting on a mauling, and I know he has got the cardio to do so. And I'll go with him. I'll put him on my parlay. Next bout, Nasrat Haqparast versus Jared Flash Gordon, plus 185 for Gordon, minus 225 for Haqparast. Haqparast will be going on that second leg of my parlay. I'm going second round knockout. Too fast, I believe. When you look at Haqparast and his last two losses, they're really hard to gauge his as losses like that, because his mother died recently when he fought Hooker. And then I don't think he had fully gotten mentally over that when he fought Bobby Green. And Bobby put an ass whooping on him. And similar to Dan Hooker, he was able to just take him down repeatedly. But him at TriStar, currently, it's been really showing that good development from Nasrat that I wanted to see. The old Nasrat where he would just volume dudes up for 3 rounds, finding either a knockout along the way. He's got that massive nuclear left hand. He is baby Kelvin Gastelum, obviously. Jared Gordon, as much as I respect Jared as a fighter, and he's made me some good money in the past, even though I've picked against him, I did bet him to beat Marco Madsen. I actually did bet him to beat Leonardo Santos, and he did that so easily. But this is a different level of competition, a different type of speed, a different type of power. Jared Gordon, when you bet against him, especially with good power strikers, you got to go the knockout route. And I think Nasrat has that kind of power. just because you can say that he arguably beat Paddy Pimblett, which I don't think he did, and he's actually looked pretty good on the feet against him and also with Bobby Green, that doesn't mean that he's going to beat the left-handed Nasrat Haqparast, who I think he's been battle-tested as of late with low kicks with Landon Quinones. He's shown better game planning. He's just shown that grittiness and toughness, and with his last fight against Jamie Malarkey, he blasted him and did not let him off the hook. I like Nasrat in this spot. I will be picking him second round knockout. I think he's going to be battering up Jared Gordon. I think Gordon's going to get caught with that left hand a few times, get his nose bloody, and then come the second round, Gordon's going to try to go for takedowns, going to clinch up Nasrat. He's going to maybe get caught up against the cage, and Nasrat's going to unleash on him and knock him out. So I'll go with Nasrat, second round knockout. Next bout, we've got Xiao Magomedov versus Jailton Lutterbach. I'm going to call him John Lutterbach. John Lutterbach plus 185, come back on Magomedov minus 225. The issue with Lutterbach, it's a tough one. He, to me, appears to be too good to be true as a UFC fighter. What I mean is, he is 31 years old. He has way over nearly 50 fights, period. The guy has fought at lightweight, middleweight, welterweight. He's fought good names, Hayush Manfio, Clay Collard, even Dricus du Plessis back in the day, and he had a pretty good showing against him until he got finished. He didn't get knocked out per se. He got TKO'd. He kind of stopped fighting, stopped defending himself. It was considered kind of a late stop or early stoppage because he got back up and protested, but it was a fine stoppage for me. But to me, he's a little bit too slow and a bit too undersized, even though he is like 2 inches smaller in height and he has an inch in reach. Xiao, I believe he has some fraud in him. I think he is going to display that one of these days at minus 225. I understand if you were to bet John Lutterbach. I want him to win, John, that is. Lutterbach. Fun name to say. Calls himself the Brazilian Sub-Zero because he freezes motherfuckers. He has a few fights that I've seen where he knocks out his opponent and they just get stuck in midair and then they fall over. I'm like, oh, it's really cool. It's just, to me, I think he's too slow. He's too slow and too undersized, where he has a good chance to maybe get Xiao to the ground because he has a judo black belt and also a BJJ black belt. Lots of shit, even karate experience. The guy is solid, but again, too good to be true in my eyes. I will pick Magomedov to win this one by a decision. Reason being, I think he's going to be too quick. I think he's going to be really good with those kicks, keeping the distance. He might even hurt Lutterbach. That's just my main thing. I think he's going to be too quick for him. As for Lutterbach maybe getting on top of him, for sure he can do that. If he times maybe a kick from Magomedov, that's the way Bruno Silva got him down. I think even Bruno tried to take him down against the cage, and he was just too athletic and too quick. As much as I do not like Xiao, because there's some personal shit about him I don't like. I guess he beat up some dude in the mall back in the day. Fuck this guy. I think for holding hands with his girl or some shit. Maybe, I don't know. But Lutterbach, as much as I want him to win, seems like, oh, he's too good to be true at plus 185. So I'm going to go with Xiao here. As much as I really want to pick Lutterbach, my gut is telling me it's Xiao's fight to lose here. And I think even then, it's not even his fight to lose. It is the Saudi Arabian Athletic Commission's fight to screw up, where they're like, give me envelope B with the scorecards because John Lutterbach actually won a round, but they actually give him the nuclear option, which is round number it's envelope C, where it's like John Lutterbach wins by knockout. So they get all confused and they get the wrong envelope to the people, and they actually end up giving the Jailton Lutterbach by decision scorecards, because what I'm insinuating is that the scorecards are already written out here for Xiao to win 30-27. They have them. They don't even, judges don't even have to do shit. They just like, just give me the envelope. Like envelope A, 30-27, envelope B, 29-28, envelope C, split decision, whatever. So it's just, I don't see Xiao losing this one. I would love to be wrong, though. Next bout, Johnny Walker versus Volkan Oezdemir. I've got Johnny Walker. If he is smart, he wins this by knockout or decision on the ground. Oezdemir, he's got a chance to obviously knock out Johnny Walker, but I do think that the progression that Johnny's been making, where he's calming down his ADHD, he's training at SBG. I just think that he's more mature and he uses his length well. He doesn't put himself in too much danger. I think he can definitely mix in some takedowns, get on top of Volkan and submit him or knock him out. Volkan, he's got the chance to kind of bum rush Johnny, which could be, at that point, a 50-50 matchup where whoever lands first gets knocked out. We know Johnny's got a terrible chin. Volkan Oezdemir, not necessarily the worst chin. He's eaten some punches, but I think Johnny's got the kind of ridiculous, stupid Neanderthal power to knock him out with the dumbest, like, backhand or something. It's just a tough fight. They're evenly matched here with the odds, minus 120, or plus 100. I think it's a pick 'em right now. Plus 110, plus 110 is falling. There we go. But when it comes to Johnny Walker, if he is smart, he uses his distance, he wins this fight really any way he wants to, whether he wants to play it safe to get a win. I think he wins this one. He's super athletic. Shit, if Volkan tries to go in for a takedown, he'll just get Johnny Walker flying knee. But I'll go with Walker in this spot here. He just has to fight smart, and I think he wins it. Next bout, we've got very short notice bout. We've got Felipe Lima, the former, I'm assuming he's former, right? Because he vacated the belt, Octagon bantamweight champion, 12-1, fighting Muhammad Naimov, who is 11-2. Interesting bout here. He was going to fight Melzik Bagdasaryan, which kind of posed a weird MMA math problem because Bagdasaryan beat Colin Aglin by knockout, and Colin Aglin decisioned Naimov. Naimov, to me, he's turned a corner with his training. He's a big, strong boy for reasons that I cannot disclose. A monkey steroids, that is, but he is 5'9". He's going to be a bigger guy here at featherweight. He's a strong guy. He has power, and he's fighting a much smaller man, the 5'6" bantamweight, in Felipe Lima, who, from what I gather, very, very, very good, very fucking good guy. Good hips, can get back up from bottom. Good striking, good flying knee, good cardio. Short notice bout for him, but he's obviously moving up to 145. But he had a fight already scheduled. So the guy, to me, is legit. But my biggest issue is that Naimov is a cheater. Granted, I've only seen him do it against Nathaniel Wood, but the way he did it, kneed him in the balls a few times, grabbed his glove on the inside to prevent him getting knocked out. As much as I don't like the chin of Naimov, and I think he's very chinny, where I would have actually picked him to beat Melzik by just kind of out-grappling him, maybe getting a choke along the way. But that third round, if it would have gotten to the third round, would have been the livest Melzik has been ever. But in this fight here, I think it's the same principle where Lima's going to be live in the third if it gets there. But to me, it's going to be Naimov wins this one by a decision, where Lima's going to look very good. Like he's going to look very much so like a very good acquisition. Like, yo, we got good money for this kid. And he's going to shell out. He's going to have really good fights at bantamweight. But Naimov, I think, is going to be too big. He's going to be able to take him down. Felipe, for sure, will get back up, but I don't know how many times he will. Naimov will more than likely gas out along the way. That's when I want to see what Lima can do in that spot. But I will go with Naimov by decision, mostly by any means necessary. I think he's going to just relentlessly take him down. Maybe he'll try striking with him, but Lima's pretty quick. He's pretty crafty. I am hoping Lima wins this one because I've not been a Naimov fan ever since that Nathaniel Wood fight. Even against Jamie Malarkey, Jamie was piecing him up on the feet, and then Jamie got sloppy and he got knocked out. It's just, to me, Naimov has been kind of a lucky fighter, but I also view it as the guy has definitely turned a corner in his training. His physique has gotten better. He's a much bigger guy. He's very strong. His grappling has gotten a lot better. And he's got definite power in the punches. It's just, again, we'll see what Felipe Lima can do in this spot in the third round. There we go. Next bout, we've got Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. I don't care about this fight. There's no upside on either guy because neither guy is, of the region. So it's going to be hard to, who are they going to score it for? Maybe Kelvin because he has connections with Ali Abdelaziz. He is minus 240 here, plus 190 for D-Rod. It's a tough fight. It should be a pick-em because we're expecting the old Kelvin to show up here. And the old Kelvin might not be there. At 170, he should be the faster guy, but how depleted is he going to be? His last fight against Brady, I thought he handled himself well early, but he just didn't pull the trigger, and he looked sloppy. He didn't throw the punches necessary to really back up Sean Brady and make him hesitant to shoot on him. He got taken down easily. I know D-Rod is training his wrestling right now. I think it's going to it's got a possibility to be a very sloppy fight between two guys, or a very exciting fight between two guys, where that sloppiness would lean to both these guys just kind of throwing hands. The reach and height is going to go to Daniel Rodriguez. The speed and accuracy, I think, is going to go to Kelvin. I'm going to go with Kelvin here. I'm going to go with decision. I just don't know which Kelvin is going to show up, right? Is it going to be the Kelvin of old, the Kelvin that fought at middleweight against Chris Curtis, or is it going to be the new version of Kelvin at 170 that is a disappointment? And that's what I'm worried about here, because I do like Kelvin. Met the guy, super nice guy to me, and I wish the best for him. I pick him to win as much as I can, but I know there's going to be some issues here. If there's any issues on the scale, yeah, I just can't trust him betting wise. But same thing with Daniel. He's been training and hanging out with a cuck in Ian Gary. Like, who knocks you out and then you hang out with him right after that? Like, it's just weird to me. But D-Rod, he's too slow, but he hits hard. He's a tough guy. Good, decent boxing, but I think the speed and the 1-2 of Kelvin is probably going to be the one that gets him on top. So I'll go with decision Kelvin. Next bout, co-main event, heavyweight bout, minus 210 for Sergey Pavlovich. Comeback on Alexander Volkov, plus 175. Oh, bro. This one's tough, mostly because I see two versions of the fight happening. Three, actually. I see Pavlovich knocking out Volkov early, easy peasy. Everyone goes home happy. Everyone cashes their tickets at, minus 160 for Pavlovich by knockout, or Pavlovich round number 1 at plus 110. Everyone's happy with their money because Pavlovich knocks everyone out. He is very much so the embodiment of what Hitler wanted in his vision of a ethnically pure Germany. Even though he is Russian, so much so that, like, Pavlovich has such nuclear power in his hands that I think the UN wants to isolate him on his own island and just keep him there until he's ready to fight. But the guy is very limited elsewhere. He has the boxing. He's got decent enough cardio to box for 3 rounds. But Volkov, on paper, much better everywhere, other than just a straight boxing and maybe the speed. Sergey's got nasty speed in those punches. Volkov, though, much longer, much taller. He's developed power in the punches since he's kind of bulked up a little bit. And on top of that, he's got the Muay Thai advantage, meaning he's going to throw kicks on the outside, throw teeps to the body. He just needs to be smart. I think he actually is the much smarter guy, fight IQ-wise, than Pavlovich. And if he gets on top of Pavlovich, and you might be thinking, well, if fucking Curtis Blades couldn't take him down, for sure Volkov won't. Well, if Volkov gets in the clinch and trips him down to the ground, lands knees to the body as Pavlovich is trying to throw the overhand right, Volkov kind of jumps in on him, grabs the clinch, maybe the Muay Thai clinch or the plum, throws knees at him, but more realistically knees to the body. I think the main game plan for Volkov, hit the body, tire him out. Volkov's been 5 rounds. Volkov is the more seasoned guy. I think he's fought the better competition. Volkov has only been knocked out twice. I don't think his chin is shit. I think he's developed some good power in his punches. I think he's better on the ground. It's just that if Pavlovich hits him cleanly once, that could be it. I also do kind of think that Pavlovich's knockout power might be a little bit overrated, to the fact that, like, not everyone's going to get dropped by that one punch. So to me, the ways I see this going is Pavlovich knocks him out early. Alexander Volkov gets beat up for 3 rounds because Pavlovich has that inside boxing, hits the body of Volkov, starts hitting the head, either finishes him late or just batters him for the 3 rounds. Or Volkov is the smarter guy on the outside, hits the body, just gasses out Sergey to a point, or even takes him down with a Muay Thai trip just inside the plum, inside the clinch, just either hooks the leg, drops him over, gets on top of him right in the mount, pounds him out, or chokes him out. Again, Volkov, to me, highly, highly underrated in this spot here, so I'm going to take him to win. I'm going to say round number 2, TKO. I'll go with TKO. I think if he does get on top of him, he'll start raining punches, maybe goes for the submission. That's why it's tough, but I do have to go with Volkov on this one. I think at that plus 175, he is the play. Or Pavlovich, if you really think he's going to win inside the distance, round number 1. But I can't stand it anymore, man. The Puna prop killer, which is you expect Puna to knock out this kind of chinny dude in Miguel Baeza, and he doesn't do it. So that always kind of scares me when it comes to like props like that, especially when we see Pavlovich. He kind of got rushed a little bit, and I mean a little bit to the title, because it's hard to say he got rushed because he knocked everyone out. It's hard to deny him, but when I mean rushed, I don't think he fought the correct competition to really challenge him up until he got to the title, because he went from beating dudes that really you can knock them out in the first round, and if they go down, they go down. But what happens when they don't go down? And that's what we saw with Aspinall. So with Aspinall being his toughest test, now he's going to be facing his second toughest test, which to me should have been a guy he fought before Aspinall, which is Volkov. So I'll go with Volkov here, just because I think he does have the better, well-rounded game, and I think he's got a smart game plan to deal with Pavlovich, who, I can say, yeah, Pavlovich, he got knocked out his last fight, but if I'm being honest, that was a really picture-perfect speedy punch from Aspinall that caught him on the top of the head, like clipped him in the temple. So we'll see what will happen here, but all I do know is that if it hits the ground and Pavlovich is on his back, it's going to be a rough night for him. All right, main event of the evening, we've got Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov. Minus 145 for Whittaker, come back on Aliskerov, plus 120. This one's tough because, of course, it is a short notice bout. There's a lot of negative things going against Ikram here, because we got Robert Whittaker, who is training for a different version of Ikram, obviously, in Chimaev, who very dangerous early, and I do think Chimaev would have eventually slowed down. That's where Robert would have taken over, and I think that's a much more difficult fight for Robert early and a much easier fight for him later if he survives, and I think Robert could have. As for Ikram, he's got the negative thing because Robert was training for a good wrestler, good grappler, good power hitter, and Ikram, he is, I would say, on the same coin of oh Jesus, why can't I think of it as just the rat lip, Chimaev, that he's got very similar skills, very good grappling, very good sambo. He's got power, not as much as I would think Chimaev has, but his striking's a little bit more technical with his 1-2. I really like his 1-2. It's just, I think he might be getting rushed up a little bit too early here for Robert Whittaker. Again, Robert's got every advantage here that he was in camp for a guy exactly like Ikram. And Ikram was getting ready for Tricoli, who was a giant jiu-jitsu guy. And before then, I think he was going to fight Andre Muniz, which would have been a really good grappling fight between both of them, which we would have seen how good Aliskerov is. So to me, all the upside is in Robert Whittaker, especially at minus 145. The only issue I have with that is that I get this weird gut feeling that Aliskerov is going to knock out Robert Whittaker. I think that Aliskerov is definitely a very good fighter. The perception of him getting rushed up might be, it's hard to say because he is getting rushed up here. It's a short notice bout, and it may be too much for him, and that's a risk I'm willing to take at plus 120, knowing that he does have good power, knowing that he can wrestle. And I don't want to put too much stock in the Dricus fight for Robert Whittaker, where he got dropped with a jab, but it was a left-handed stance where he got hit with the right hand leaning in. And I think Aliskerov is more, he's not a southpaw, he's a orthodox. And on top of that, Dricus did take Robert down and control him, but Dricus is just a different beast. He hits really hard. He's just very well-rounded, and he's a monster Chad. But Ikram, though, I do think Ikram, if this is a 5-round fight, he's going to have some success against Robert Whittaker. I think inside, he can hurt Robert with that 1-2. The thing about Ikram is that I think he is a bit unassuming sometimes, because I look at him and I'm like, he's not all that great. I think there's going to be guys that are much faster than him. But when he gets going, I think he's going to be able to mix things up pretty well against Robert, who, although I think Robert is one of the best fighters ever, right? He's a former middleweight champion. He's a great fighter, absolutely great. One of my favorites to watch. I've seen him fight live. I think, no, just the one time. I was going to say twice, but I saw him just once in Chicago years back. I just worry that his chin is not going to be able to take it. I think he can definitely knock out Ikram. I think he can decision him, keep him on the outside. He's got that beautiful like lead punch followed by the head kick. I love Robert Whittaker so damn much, but I do think Aliskerov for me is the play. I don't have a very logical breakdown as to why. I just get this really awful feeling that they're going to either do anything in their power to give it to Aliskerov in the decision if it gets to that point. But I also think that Aliskerov is going to be able to get some top control on Robert. And on top of that, I do think that Aliskerov will eventually land that hard jab 1-2. And I don't know if Whittaker is going to be able to recover fast enough for Ikram to either take him down or to finish him off with strikes. So I do think if Robert does get hurt, either Ikram is going to take him down and try to like bash him there, because I think Ikram is more capable of going 5 rounds at a very steady pace where he's doing damage, opposed to Chimaev, who is just balls to the walls early, takes you down, either finishes you or he doesn't, and then he has a second round to do it again, and then he's going to slow down. Robert takes over. In this spot, I think Ikram is just better than Chimaev. Well, obviously in the fact that he can actually fight, opposed to Chimaev, who isn't fighting for medical reasons. But yeah, I'll go with Aliskerov here. It's not, I don't have a very good reason because all the data that I'm looking at points to Robert Whittaker winning this fight. Like, he's just maybe a little bit ahead of Ikram at this spot. Just a little too much for him. But I do think Ikram has got that X factor of very good wrestling, very good top control, very good jiu-jitsu, very solid overall fighter. Maybe has a little bit too much power for Robert Whittaker. That's my guess. That's my thought on that. Let me know what you think on that. But yeah, let me know what you think on the predictions here overall, like as my parlay, my 2-leg of Nasrat and Fakretdinov. That might be my only play. Again, maybe some live betting as well. But man, like, this is a tough fight, overall fight card. It's got plagued. I think it might be cursed, where a lot of weird stuff might happen, again, with the special envelopes that are already written out. But let me know what your thoughts are on this one, what your plays on. Again, Johnny TigerBomb MMA. If you don't like, share, or subscribe to this channel, you are a terrorist sympathizer, so you don't want to do that. I'll see you next week.